welcome back again to what I've decided to call Cover to Cover with Chris Franjola, here with Alex once again. And we are, this would technically be a third episode of this. We haven't released anything yet, but we're kind of getting there where now they're going to start to be released. So I'd have to kind of get my shit together a little more because, you know, I have stories that I want to discuss. And then I get here and I kind of forget some of the stories I want to discuss. So we're going to try and make it fun. Pose questions. I feel like I'm going to pose a lot of questions. And then how would people respond to these questions? I don't know. But I guess Instagram is the best way to kind of just write me on Instagram. And I feel like I always see people's, you know, Instagram messages that when they write to me, and I always respond. So that would be the best way if you start listening to this is to, you know, just contact me through Instagram and we could discuss all the ridiculous things that we'll talk about. Yeah, let's kind of rock and roll with this. We are in Los Angeles where, you know, as you've probably seen, there's been fires and craziness and all that stuff going on. I have a house in Malibu, which made it through on the ocean side, thankfully. So that was all good. We were fine, but it was a crazy time. And then it became about, you know, is it global warming? Is it climate change? Is it all these things that are causing all this stuff that's happening? I don't know where you stand on this, Alex, but you seem like one of those guys who's maybe thinks it's the government who's doing this. So, you know, don't go too crazy. But yeah, it's a wild time. And then I read the story about this whale that was found in the ocean. You know, a whale had died last week or whatever, and they're washed up on shore. And they cut it open, and it was just filled. And I've seen this before, not with a whale, but with other type of fish, where they're just filled with plastic. They're, you know, their stomachs are just, they eat. I guess they see shiny shit and they eat it, and not knowing it's plastic, and they die from it, I guess. But it's so filled with plastic. So the whole world is fucked up if you tend to like look at this shit, whether it be, which I believe calling it global warming was the worst thing that Al Gore, whoever decided to name it global warming, could have done, because now everyone, the moment it becomes, you know, 14 degrees in November, of course, that happened last week, Donald Trump says, you see what I mean? There's no global warming. It's the coldest Thanksgiving day ever. But that's part of the problem. They should have called it climate change, and then it all would have been a, you know, whole other thing. But something's up. I have to say, even just from, I'm not a scientist. I know nothing. But living in Los Angeles, it was like walk outside now. It's 90 degrees. It's late November. And it just wasn't like that. It's just fucking weird, man. I grew up on a lake on Long Island. And Lake Ronkonkoma, and it used to freeze solid every winter without fail. You'd be able to drive a car on it. That's how much it would freeze. This lake has not frozen in 15 years, and that's weird. So anyway, so now that they came out with a climate report last week that was just dire. If you read it, it's crazy. I mean, it's just like by 2100 we'll all be fucked. Bad. I'll be dead. So do I care? Here's what I've decided. I can't care anymore. I just can't. I walked to get to this podcast studio over 15 homeless people sleeping on the sidewalks. Whether you know, they do this to themselves, whether they're drug addicts or they've had a good life and they just, you know, people who, or I also think, so then I get mad. I'm like, well, this fucking guy probably had a good life and he did this shit to himself. But then again, I think maybe the guy's had a shit life. Maybe, you know, maybe he's fucking been molested by his parents or shit like that, which I never had. So thank God. But if you have a shit life like that, you have to get out of your house. You have to go, and there's no option. You can't go. I had a good fucking life. I was able to go to my bedroom and it was nice and decent people. But some of these people don't have that. So I have to try and be somewhat, you know, sympathetic to what I see out there. But I can't, I have to just put on blinders and say, maybe we're just getting old. I can't change this shit. I can't change climate change. I can't change homelessness. I can't change any of this shit. So fuck it. I live in a pretty good neighborhood. I have to just say, you know, maybe this is all I can do.
Okay, so I have a question for you.
Go ahead. Now you're gonna get into some climate change.
No. I don't want to get
no. If you don't know Alex, he's a young, handsome kid who's got the world at his feet, and he could go out. You know, so he's probably got these beliefs, and he's a smart guy, so he probably reads this shit. And I don't know, maybe there is, but you have to admit something's up, right?
No, entirely, and I have no belief on it. You know what's funny is I actually think it's. The world is like, they're starting to find that scientifically, like they're looking back thousands of years and it's always been in flux. And is there like, have we definitely affected it? Yeah, probably a little bit, like definitely. But there was a girl on Thanksgiving, one of my friends, like crazy girlfriend, and she started going in on someone about climate change. And my response was, look, I'm going to be honest. I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm pretty sure you don't know what you're talking about either.
Agreed. I don't think a lot of people do, but there are people who do. Like there are scientists who wrote this recent climate change, report, and I would hope they know more than I do. But okay, so let's say we're all stupid and we don't know nothing. So explain a lake not freezing that used to freeze 15 years ago every single year without fail, that it doesn't anymore. You know, explain that. I haven't seen. I mean, I've been living in Los Angeles a long time. The fires are now every year,
almost 2 years,
every year,
two.
two year now. Every year, you just know when that wind starts blowing, and we feel that Santa Ana heat. You know, oh shit, Malibu's gone, or wherever these dry places are gone. And then, of course, on the East Coast, it's the hurricanes. That now there's 3 or 4 now. There was one that hit the Carolinas, and then Florida, and then New Orleans. So I mean, is that just a coincidence, or is it, like you said, ebb and flow, or whatever? This is not a road I wanted to go down, but because I know people who listen to podcasts, and especially people who will probably listen to this one, will be like Juicy Scoop people, and they hate this shit. But
well, I was gonna ask, how's your how's your community looking? As someone, do you know much about what's going on up there? Do you live up there? Or do you just have a vacation?
No. I live out there pretty much all summer long in Malibu. And I'll say this. The apartment complex that I have my place in is 50 years old, 60 years old. So it's been through many. And it's always survived because it's on the other side of Pacific Coast Highway. It's on the ocean side. So if the fire has never jumped Pacific Coast Highway on the ocean side yet. This one kind of came close a little bit, but it was up further, like toward Pepperdine and stuff. So it didn't really come down.
Is that why they took the animals over there? There's something about animals.
That was up in the Malibu winery. They have like a kind of a zoo up there. So I guess, and they're up in the mountain. They're up there, and there's no way out. Like if a fire starts sweeping through there, you're fucked. You can't go through into the valley. You can't come down, into Malibu. So you're screwed, which I think happened to a lot of those people in that Paradise City, up Northern California. There's just no way out, man. That shit was just moving so quick. Anyway, it's a fucking hopeless situation, but I feel like every day and here I'm just, the homelessness, I've never seen anything quite like it. It's seems to get worse every day. And now I'm reading these articles about housing in not only Los Angeles. Forget Los Angeles. It's so fucking expensive. It's ridiculous. I mean, I believe, Alex, you live in your car, right?
Yes, sir.
And this is Alex, a fucking capable guy and has to live in his car because this city, I mean, I guess it's $2,000 a month for anything. For a shit fucking closet is $2,000 a month, which is crazy. But that's Los Angeles. Now take Arkansas and the Dakotas and all of this. There was an article yesterday that said the rents are too high. If you make a minimum wage and you compare your minimum wage to what you have to pay for rent, you can't afford to live in any city in America on minimum wage, which is fucking crazy. Like we're shooting ourselves in the foot time and time again. And I guess it's just a rich person's world. If you're rich, and many people are, it's fucking great. It's a great place to be. And even some people just have good lives. They're not rich, but they're able to afford a fucking big screen TV and their rent and, you know, a dinner once a month and a fucking movie or whatever the case may be. And for those people, everything's fine. But if you're anything below that, if you're working at the Gap, I don't know how you fucking do it. I really don't.
Struggle.
Struggle.
You gotta outwork it. That's the hard
But
part.
here's the thing. And can you even struggle anymore? Like, we struggle. My family didn't have any money. My father was an electrician. My mother was like worked in a doctor's office. I mean, but I didn't know we didn't have any money. I grew up around cops and firefighters. Nobody had any money. So I guess everybody struggled if there was one thing, but we were all protected by unions and good, you know, insurance and things like that. So if something did happen, people were protected because they were cops and firefighters belonging to. Now all that shit's going away. Fuck these people, working people, da-da-da-da-da. And it's just crazy that now everyone has to, like, have you ever went to buy health insurance on your own outside of, I fortunately have been lucky to be covered under the Writers Guild for many years, which is a great insurance. But if you had to go buy it on your own, and I'm a healthy guy, the price is ridiculous. It's $1,200 a month, you know, for just nothing, to be covered by nothing. Mm-hmm. So there's nobody could afford that.
Well, and I think it's almost at the point where it's no longer really insurance. It's almost just like let's throw all the services into a bucket and we'll give as many, like, we'll do what we can. I just feel like with housing, It's the same thing with, it's just, I think our economy is not what it used to be, and we're starting to slowly actually see the effects on all fronts: housing, healthcare, everything. And a lot of people are going, "Oh shit, but my parents had this stuff. Why don't I?" And it's like, well, you never were guaranteed it, and you got to kind of.
But is it also like, can you? Because if you look at the arguments underneath this article I was reading, there was, you know, people can comment now, which is amazing, and everyone can have an opinion, which is good, I guess, in a way. So I read this article about you know, people not being able to afford rents, and then of course underneath is everyone's saying, I do fine. I don't make any. I work at the Gap, and I'm able to live fine in Nashville, Tennessee, or blah blah blah, or these places, which are perfectly fine cities. Now, so are we to blame for moving to like Los Angeles? Well, or New York. It's like, hey, if you can't afford fucking Los Angeles, then don't live in Los Angeles. I know plenty of guys who have moved away and are able to do fine when the rent is $900 a month and not, you know, $2,900 a month. And they're able, and they can live a life. So we can sit here and you know, and cry about it, but you're living in Los Angeles. So fucking, that's the price to pay. And I honestly,
that's the price of climate. That's the price of 90-degree Decembers.
I guess. Yeah. That's the price of walking outside and never really freezing your ass off. It's, you know, it's just gorgeous. Like where I lived today, I walked out this morning, and I always think to myself, well, get the fuck out of this city. It's just, it's full, it's rotting.
Every day?
Yeah, every day. Every day. I say to myself, like, it's just getting worse. The traffic, the everything. And I like Los Angeles. I really do. But then you walk out and it's 72 degrees in the morning and it's just fucking gorgeous. I could sit in my backyard and drink coffee, and it's just nice.
But if you don't have a backyard to sit in and drink coffee, why are you here? Like, if you're not actively pursuing something only to Los Angeles, I don't understand why you'd even try.
You know, I'm on the road a ton, and I go to these cities, and I'm like, this seems like a perfectly nice life to me. Yeah. Oh my God. Like Chattanooga, Tennessee is a fucking beautiful city that is reasonably priced. You could probably make a good living there, working wherever. Working in Home Depot, you could have a good life in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And it's, you know, people, Chattanooga, fucking, you know, hillbilly, blah, blah, blah. Not at all. It's far from that.
No.
They got as hip and cool bars and scene as anywhere else.
Boise. It's the coolest, but like
all of that shit. Yeah, all these places. You've seen it. You see it. Yeah, it's great cities. My only beef with a lot of these cities is you might get like on a Tuesday night, there's nothing fucking going. I mean, I was just in Toledo, Ohio. On a Wednesday at 8 o'clock, there's not a car on the road. It's fucking scary.
Amazing.
I know it is kind of, but you know, because then you're like, just go to bed, and you're like, well, you know, what's wrong with that?
Sounds good. Yeah.
You know, but you and I, like, hey, here in Los Angeles, you know, 11 o'clock. You guys, I mean, you're younger on the scene than I am. You're like heading out to do sets at 11 p.m. I'm like, I did it. You know, we did it, but you would never do that in those cities. So maybe that's that. I don't know. Anyway, Where do you stand on all this shit? You're in it.
I think just to tie a couple of the things we were talking about, whether it be homelessness or, climate change that causes, I think just like get off the phone and back into your community, hand the guy $1, help your, the firefighters and all that. If you have, 20 extra bucks, throw it at someone who needs it, and try to water your own garden. And
but does that work? Like,
I feel like it does.
Yeah,
man. Yeah.
Like for instance, right now,
maybe not in LA,
behind this building, this parking lot that you park in right here, there are 3 guys sleeping behind these like bushes. Three adult men sleeping right now.
One of them's lived here probably for 10 years.
Oh yeah,
he's set up. He's going nowhere. Yeah.
So. I mean, I just don't know if giving that guy $1 it does anything.
And I'm not saying the homeless. I mean, I guess you could throw that guy. I mean, you can get that guy to his next meal, but it's up to him to get out of his situation. You can help them you can help them grind through a bad situation, but you can't lift them out of it. Someone's got to make the decision to lift themselves out of it. Yeah. But I think smaller community, like your Chattanoogas and stuff, I think those places, you definitely can. A couple people looking out for, hey, the Smiths down the block lost their job. If we all throw them $20 a week,
and I think it happens, but in the Chattanoogas and stuff like, no. We don't know each other here. No. We live in cars and we live in, and listen, I'm as guilty of it as anybody. I don't talk to my fucking neighbors. I actually find it to be like, sometimes they'll come over when
They're too crazy.
When I'm, like, I don't want to, don't bother me.
Yeah.
And when I lived in an apartment complex, God, I lived in this, I just moved from the apartment in Studio City to a house, and I didn't talk to anyone in that complex for 10 years. I didn't know anybody. Yeah. And then sometimes I go to complexes where people know each other and talk them on. I'm like, I don't want that. Once I shut my door, leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah. No, I concur with that. But no, I just think that you can, I use the term water your own garden, try to help the people around you and do what you can. Right. And, but like, as far as how I feel in Los Angeles, just like if, or I don't know. It's
hippie motherfucker.
Yeah, man. I think that we have to decide to help people. Right. I don't think that we should be, made to help people. But, there are, if you haven't been to Los Angeles, there are people who have, their tents are cleaner than your houses. They sweep their sidewalk, their home. There's a guy sleeping on the structure.
I don't see a lot of that, but
there's a guy sleeping on the structure at where Red O used to be across from the Improv.
Oh yeah.
There's a couple guys.
Now this is a very fancy part of town. On Melrose Avenue,
and that's why all the places are going out of business because no one can afford rent.
Right.
But this restaurant institution in California goes out. They have a nice little patio area. There are 3 guys living in their old shade area. There's a guy who sweeps the sidewalk there every morning. And I'm like, how did you get, like, if you're the kind of guy who sweeps up his front yard, how do you not have a front yard? I mean,
it's crazy.
I know people have filthy houses, and I'm like, oh, this guy would actually take care of it. But
then again, I blame us for coming to Los Angeles. Like, we were all searching to be
it's a gamble.
Famous and, and on television. And that's why everybody came here. Whether you say you did or you didn't, that's the fucking reason you came here. And we all want to be on TV. So for that reason, there's an outside chance you might have to live in a tent on the sidewalk or in your car or whatever, because these are the prices you have to pay to try and follow this dream or whatever. But that didn't used to be the case. Well, when I came here, it was an affordable city where you could chase after what you wanted to chase after. Meanwhile, making fucking no money, but you had a good life. You could live in an apartment for $600 less even.
I will tell if you know any LA based entertainers who had to struggle and grow in Los Angeles, there's probably at least 2 months of their life they slept in a car. It's a very common. So I would say don't always pity the homeless, because a lot of them are, they made that.
Oh, I don't pity. As a matter of fact, I feel bad that I don't pity. I get angry.
No,
like I wish I was a better person that pitied people. I get angry. I see some of them. I'm like, well, you put yourself in this fucking. But and then I have to say that maybe they just didn't have the life I had and whatever. Who knows? Anyway, this is not. I wanted to have a fun podcast, and now I go down this shit. These are the things I think about as I drive from where I live, which is a nice-ish area, to Koreatown, where we shoot this. You go through some.
Do you go through culture shock as you drive?
You do, and you go through like how did we get here in this? I believe Los Angeles lets shit go too far.
Yes.
They and no other cities do that. Like, for instance, Hollywood Boulevard, Venice Beach. I'll give you Venice Beach, I'll give you Hollywood Boulevard, I'll give you downtown Los Angeles. These are three places that are huge here in the city of Los Angeles, to the city, for tourism and for whatever else. We have let all three of them go to complete shit. All three of them. We watched Hollywood Boulevard go to complete shit. We watched Venice Beach go to complete shit. And we watched downtown go to complete shit. Now, in some cases, downtown's starting to come back a little bit, but not enough. But we shouldn't have never let it get to the point it got. New York didn't let it happen. Chicago doesn't let it happen. None of these other cities let it happen. They don't let their shit rot. We let our shit rot, and then we try and fix it 20 years later, which we're trying to do downtown now. Yet Hollywood Boulevard's still rotting. Venice Beach is still rotting. Well, around Venice has become nice. Now the homes are $1 million homes or whatever. The actual boardwalk of Venice Beach, if you were a person coming from another city and said, "Oh my God, let's go to Venice Beach," you'd be sickened by the fuck. It's fucking gross. And you would go back to your city and you'd say, "Fuck Los Angeles, it's a shithole. I'm going next time I go on vacation. I'm going to Miami, wherever. Who knows? I don't know, wherever." But you wouldn't come back here. So now you just lost that fucking dime that you get from tourism. I don't know if that's if that's a thing we do here anymore, is tourism. And I think that it sucks. Like, Hollywood Boulevard needs to be celebrated as Hollywood Boulevard. Listen, it's fucking stupid looking at the stars on the sidewalk and the handprints in the cement. But people come from all over the world to do it. You can't let it fucking rot the way you have.
It's funny too, is once you let it get there, the power struggle to get it back to zero. So I produce a show down there. I help produce a show down there every Wednesday. I'll be there right after this. I'm usually there over 12 hours on Wednesdays, barking on the street
on Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah, but like literally right next to the Donald Trump star, trying to get people to walk up 4 flights of stairs to go see a comedy show and buy a $5 drink. And I've dealt with homeless people threatening me. I mean, I've been on this crew for almost over a year now. The amount of stuff you see, but you know what else is crazy is I see cops down there are relentless because they need to just try to keep, like, if you have an open container on Hollywood Boulevard, you will be like, I've seen people get like arrested, like it's like forcefully, like SWAT kind of like just rush in. What's in your hand? You know, they are trying to keep up this almost image of, like we got this under control, but they don't.
But the problem is it's not that good. They should, but it's the store. Like, I don't know if they have long leases or whatever, but it's like wig shops, like shitty wig shops.
How do they do it?
I have no idea. It's like, like fucking hoochie dress shops and shit. Still, like that should be fucking Prada and Banana Republic. Not that that's but you know what I mean? And open air eating places. I see them in other cities. I see the way these other cities do this.
But it's funny is like the phenomenon we're talking about.
Go to Scottsdale. Look at how fucking Scottsdale does it. Do it like that.
But isn't it kind of funny now that we shame gentrification, but you're like, no, that's just an area getting better and building wealth.
I don't shame gentrification. No, I say bring it on. Yeah. When I see a Starbucks open in a neighborhood, I'm like, thank fucking God, because that's the beginning of a turnaround. It's coming
back to life.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, and it's funny is there's almost this like shame on, like, if you get a Silver Lake, there's like a, shame on the gentrification around here. You're pushing people out of their homes, and it's like, no, you're building a city's economy, and if they can't hang, sorry, and that sounds mean, I get it, but
in a way, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. But then move out like where I'm at fucking Van Nuys. But listen, Van Nuys is affordable it's not even affordable, but in Los Angeles, that's where you got to go. And I fucking love it. I mean, it's coming up now because people like me and all other like TV writers and shit are going out there, and it's turning it around. Like, they're opening coffee shops and they're opening hip restaurants. And next thing you know, it'll be what when I moved to Los Angeles, you wouldn't fucking go into Silver Lake. You take your life in your hands. Now it's fucking, it's ridiculous. So, I mean, and
it's cool. It's fun to be there.
Cool and good and whatever. Anyway, whatever. My next thing, let's completely get off this because I'll go down this road forever. Yeah. Next thing I want to talk about is something I just recently read about. And I see them when I go on the road in hotels. I see a lot of like conventions of all sorts. Now, Comic-Con's the big one, of course. We all know Comic-Con, where everyone puts on an outfit and goes and celebrates a weekend of whatever it is. It used to be comic books. Now it seems to be everything. But there's smaller ones. I was in Chicago about a year ago, and in my hotel was a Godzilla convention. Godzilla. We all know Godzilla from when we were kids, and then they remade it a bunch of times. Okay, there was a Godzilla convention. You figure how many people are that into Godzilla? They would go to a convention, maybe 100. There were 25,000 people at this Godzilla convention. And, I mean, it was ridiculous. In Godzilla costumes, and they were Godzilla everything, you name it. A whole weekend freaking out about Godzilla. Then I go to another city, another hotel I'm in. This is in Dallas. There's like, not furries. I don't want to say furries because that's like a sexual shit. These people were all dressed up in like furry type outfits, but
cosplay.
Okay, maybe that's what it was. Cosplay, which means costume play, right?
Yeah.
Now, is that also a sexual thing?
For those people, if you're about the cosplay life, if you like cosplay in the streets, you like cosplay in the sheets, but it doesn't have to be.
All right. But I also think that like there were young people I mean, youngish. I mean, they were of age, you know. But are 18-year-old kids putting on those outfits and fucking each other?
I mean, yeah.
Okay, so now I want to know, am I wrong? Because I look at it, I'm like, this is ridiculous. You should be out there. I mean, work harder on something. But then again, also, I think, you know what? Why begrudge these people of a fuck? I mean, they have more passion for this shit than I have for anything. Like, I would never fly to a city to celebrate a movie from 30 years ago. Or anything for that matter. I'm a New York Mets fan. I wouldn't go to like a Mets camp. I don't give a shit that much about it. So I almost sometimes when I look at it, I'm like, you know what? Good for them. They found something that they're into, and that's a good thing. Or are they just fucking crazy?
Well, I mean, expecting us to all play along gets a little old. Have you ever heard any of the stories about like them setting up litter boxes for people to pee in? It's like that's too much.
I know, but if they're doing it like in their convention world.
But you were saying they should find somewhere else to put that work. If you can afford like a really dope, like a really expensive furry costume, and a $400 pass to FurryCon,
because it's expensive.
Then you're spending like you could drive a car that's $300 more a month than the one you drive, but you're spending that money on furry stuff, and for that I can't like.
Yeah, it's you say it's good.
I mean, it's more if it's an industry, it's good.
Also. Now say you are a furry or an older guy's into like My Little Pony was another one. They got
like sexual and weird. That was
pony.
Weird.
They just had it, I think.
Yeah.
That pony one where they're literally these are 10,000 people. We're not talking 10 guys who are into My Little Pony. Yeah. We're talking 10,000 fucking people all over the world who are into this crazy shit. Now, somewhere along the line, these are adult men and women in their 20s, 30s, whatever. Somewhere along the line, you got to realize, hey man, you're watching this cartoon, you're watching My Little Pony, and you're like, this is turning me on like that. When do you realize? Because now let me just say right up front, I've had my fair share of fun in the dirty sex world of like back when I was, going on the road and doing all sorts of shit in hotel rooms with girls and stuff. And it was great. But I've always been kind of like a fucking bore when it comes to like, sex. They're straight shooters, as they say, no threesomes, nothing like that. No, nothing too crazy. Certainly nothing brony-ish. Certainly nothing shit on my chest. None of that shit. But
you haven't had your chest shit on?
No, I have not.
Right, you haven't lived.
But now let me say this: there's got to be a time where you realize, hey, I'm into shit. Let's not even go with shit. Let's go with like cosplay. Like I'm into that. There's got to be a point where you're like, oh shit, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna fucking put on with this costume, and so when do you get to the point where you realize, all right, now I'm full in cosplay person? And also, when do you spring it on your significant other? Because that's got to be something you have to
start with the nurse costume, and then after nurse is cool, you go, all right, do you want to be a squirrel next?
Okay, but even like getting it to the point where it's just discussing costumes, I think it's like, oh shit, really? Like, I've had a long day, man. I got to put on a fucking costume for you.
I think there are some people who have a lot more energy to put towards sex. And yeah, man, if you're willing to spend the money on a cool like everyone's talking about jobs disappearing, there's a girl out there making furry costumes and selling them for $1,000 a pop. And if she's eating because you like some weird stuff, I'm down for it, man. I know.
All right. So you are not into any of that weird shit.
No,
are you like a chest
I'm a vanilla guy. No, I'm very vanilla. I'll do the occasional chest shit. You know, the occasional.
No, you won't. No, I won't. That's a weird one. I don't know. This should play
that is a weird one, but
I'll say that there are times like when you go on like YouPorn or whatever, and you'll see like it's like a trans porn where you don't know it at first, and then they pan down and you see, and you're like
trickery.
But then sometimes I'm like, oh fuck it, let it play out. Like so that is about as now that would be not deviant. That's the wrong word, because they're people like everyone else. You'll
watch it from the privacy of your own home and then tell a bunch of people on a podcast.
Sure, yeah. Like I don't have any problem with that kind of stuff. I'm just curious. Now here's where we get to the point where we pose questions. So if you are one of these types, write me on Instagram or Alex for that matter, and say, hey, here's how I did it. Here's how I got into it. Here's when I realized I was one of these people. And I realized at 12 or I realized at fucking 22. And I told my wife or boyfriend. And next thing you know, we're full on. We're going to the city where they're having the convention, and we're walking around the hotel lobby. This is middle of the day. And these people find each other. Like there's 10,000 of them. So they must go on something and go, hey man, I'm into Godzilla. Are you? Yes. Oh, thank God. I found another Godzilla lover.
Man.
You know?
It's really no different that so I worked in conventions for years.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And I've seen, there's the boring medical sales, but there's EDC in Las Vegas. Before EDC, there's an electric.
Now, what is EDC?
EDC is the Electric Daisy Carnival.
Okay,
that's where all the kids go, and that's some furry shit. Those are the people who get weird.
But those kids are also that's like a fun
but
weekend.
and it's a thing. It's the new thing. It's no different than Woodstock was for generations
what
past.
Spring Break used to be. I think Spring Break is kind of dead now, but it used to be go to Fort Lauderdale.
Well, now they go to raves twice a month, and it's like they get 24 spring breaks a year. How good
I know
is that?
That is weird. Like I used to. Me and my friends like spring break. Is that the proper English? We spring break up until like we were like 35. Yeah. We were like still going.
Well,
to spring break.
imagine doing 2 of those a month. Like But no, I worked in conventions for years, and there are tons of there are plenty of like-minded people, but EDM biz happens right before Electric Daisy Carnival, and it's the business side of electric dance music,
right?
And it's put on by the same people.
And so electric dance music would be that thing out, Burning Man. That's all considered that situation.
Yeah,
which I guess is another thing where
that's the music of EDC, but it's the industry a week prior to EDC getting together. And
now, isn't this once again all of this weirdly tied? If you really broke it down to some sort of sexual shit, isn't it just basically ultimately kind of a hookup situation? Like, hey man, maybe I'll hook up at EDC this year.
I think for young people, every situation.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. It was for me. Yeah. I remember anything we did.
We're not allowed to say it anymore, but it.
Right. Going to
even
anything.
Starting a blog, you're hoping someone will be like, "Hey, I really love your."
Exactly.
And we're all just trying to show our worth to suitors. Yeah.
When you're 23, going on vacation or going to Vegas or going anywhere is the hope of hooking up is the driving force behind all. I believe it's the driving force behind Burning Man. I believe it's Coachella.
Putting on a clean shirt.
All of it. Yeah. And now because we are swiping from our couch, I feel like the hookup generation is slowly dwindling, and I think it's a bad thing.
We've made it too easy.
And nobody has to try anymore. And going out, putting on a fucking shirt, like you said, putting on some cologne and going out to a bar on a Friday night.
It works
hook up.
really well.
It was the greatest thing in the world. Putting on whatever song was hot, that weekend, whatever hot fucking Black Eyed Peas song came out. And then you would go doll yourself up to go out to some hookup bar. It was the greatest. I don't think it happened. Maybe I'm just old and don't see it happening anymore, but I don't think it happens anymore. I think it's so much so that I just read that a lot of companies, we're currently in the Christmas season, holiday season, a lot of companies are no longer having Christmas parties this year because of the Me Too. It's too sensitive right now, because if they have the Christmas party in a large corporation and somebody gets out of hand at the Christmas party, you know, they could be sued or whatever. So we can't have Christmas parties, which is, I guess, but are we at the point where men or women, who knows, are that out of control? They can't fucking control themselves at a Christmas party. Like, you can't have a couple of drinks and not fucking be lecherous toward your coworker.
I think it's I think it's just that, I think it's when you focus on it, like when all you have is a hammer, the old, like, everything's in it. I think everyone is so in their own state of like, I've got to be appropriate in the workplace, that people are overthinking it.
Yeah.
And then you like touch someone's shoulder and they're like, oh, he touched my shoulder. It's like, well, like,
right,
you know,
right.
20 years ago, dude would smack your ass and that was wrong.
Yeah.
But like, at what point do we have to say, okay, touching your shoulder, like, chill out? Like, if we're going to do work together, if we're on, like, if you work in writers' rooms, if you had no level of intimacy with those people, you could never be productive.
Well, it's amazing. I wonder how writers' rooms, I actually start a new show in a couple of weeks. And writers' rooms, to me, I've never seen anything quite like it. And it's so fun and freeing that you're able to basically say anything, and there are no rules. And I know there was that weird thing a couple of years ago with the Friends writer, the female writer of Friends, who said that she felt that it was getting too much. And I totally can see how that could happen. But as a guy who was on Chelsea Lately for like 8 years, whatever, with equal parts men and women, some gay men, some gay women, straight men, straight women, but same 5 and 5. I think there were 5 of each of us. I mean, the things we would say to each other were unbelievable, and we had a blast. Loved it. I mean, nothing was off limits. I just don't know if we could do that anymore.
What if we did this? What if we kind of did a thing where we had Class A workplaces and Class B workplaces? Class A, if you get offended easily, that's where you should go.
Right.
And Class B, like, it should be on.
But do you also think that when you say offended easily, do you think that's also being a decent guy who's not a fucking jerk? I feel sometimes when you say you're offended easily, that's like just a jerk's excuse. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, you want to, but the thing is that's where like, nowadays, instead of, like, you're right, but at some point you have to stay. A jerk is going to be a jerk until he's checked. So someone in the office has to go, hey man, you know, you're making people a little uncomfortable with that shit. Why don't you just cut that part? Like, we love you, dude, but cut that part out.
Right. But that's always weird to put people in that situation.
Yeah, but I mean, we've been running from the weird social interaction so much that now we're in a hookup culture that's based on swipes. Like, no,
Right.
I mean, at some point you have to say, like, hey, dude, I don't like, so this is weird, but my thing is I like to give people dry willies instead of a wet willy. I just fuck with my coworkers and I'll give them dry willies.
Okay.
And like, I work with one of my best friends. If I walk by, he smacks we don't care.
Sure.
But sometimes I'll do it and like people will be like, oh, stop. And I'll just say, do you really want me to stop? Like,
yeah,
we can have that kind of a relationship if you want, but just know, like,
right. You sound like a sick fucking pervert.
I know. And
Yeah.
but I feel like a wet willy's creepy. A dry willy's just like, you know.
Wet willy's gross. That's like spit.
That's why I dry willy, dude.
Yeah,
Sometimes
okay.
I get wax. I'm the one who really gets hurt here.
Yeah.
But, and you know, it's just like I have, you know, like kind of slap boxing or, you know, stuff
Right.
like that. Like, you're choosing to partake in a physical interaction with someone, whether it's a couple dudes throwing slaps at each other or it's, you know.
Do you feel you could handle your shit at a Christmas party? If you had a company Christmas party, are you able to handle your shit?
Sexually? Definitely.
Sure, whatever.
Definitely.
But I mean, as a guy who worked in conventions for many years, there's no more hookup place than like those.
Oh, that
no
is
matter.
Meeting planners are conventions are a gerbil cage. If your husband or wife,
No matter
goes,
what the
keep an eye.
business.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Right.
Doesn't matter. You'd be surprised how many people I've seen slide their ring off.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and that's the thing is if you're going to Vegas for a convention, like that's like going to a golf tournament in Gomorrah or something. You know, it's
Yeah.
like that's where the heathens are. Why are you trying to have business? Like that's kind of part of it.
Sure.
You know, there are some people who are like, Nashville, I don't want to go. Vegas,
Yeah,
we're doing
yeah.
business, and that's just that's how some people like to roll, you know.
All right. Well, I mean, hey, look, I'm glad people are still out there hooking up. I think it's more power to it. On to our next story, which I read. Which
Real
is
quick, did you
go
want,
ahead.
did you want to do 40 or an hour? I'm sorry.
What are we on to now?
We're at 39 right now.
Oh, okay. Let's go for one more.
Cool.
We'll knock out one more because I thought it was an interesting story that we could riff on, because it was a story that I guess happened about a year ago, but they just released a video of it. Okay, it was about a guy, maybe you saw it, about a guy who was doing one of those gender reveal situations that now we see all over social media, on Instagram and Facebook and all of these things, where so it's a gender reveal. What they'll do is they'll come up with an interesting, fun way. Familiar with this? Gender reveals?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
They come up with an interesting, fun way of how they're going to reveal the gender of their unborn child. So they'll pop something, or however, where they'll reveal whether it be a blue something or a pink something. Blue meaning it's a boy, pink meaning it's a girl. And now everyone's trying to come up with more and more elaborate ways to do these things. So you're seeing they cut into a cake. If the middle of the cake is pink, it's so this guy goes out to a field, I think it was in Arizona, very dry brush, and he puts a target at the end of this, dry brush, and he takes a big giant gun and he shoots the target, and a little puff of blue smoke comes out of the target, but it also explodes to the point where it causes a brush fire that burns 75,000 acres or some crazy shit and cost millions of dollars. It was a huge fire in Arizona. He now has to pay. He's paid $250,000 to the city that he did this in, and he has to pay $1,000 a month or something for the rest of his life. So, because he was revealing the gender of his kid and lit the entire state on fire. This fucking idiot. And you could tell the guy's a bit of like a Yahoo, the way he had to fire a machine gun at a thing to. I never wanted to see a kid be trans more in my life than this kid. If this kid grew up to be trans, it would be the greatest fuck you ever to this guy. Anyway, first of all, these things are ridiculous. Let's not. No more. It's not cute for anybody but the two of you who are having that baby. Nobody cares about your gender reveal. It's not interesting to anybody. I know you're going to invite people to your parties and you're going to say we're having a gender reveal party, and they're all going to be nice and say, oh, this is cute. Trust me, all of them are on their way driving to your gender reveal party saying, why the fuck are we going to a gender reveal party? Nobody wants to go to your gender reveal party. So don't. Nobody wants to watch your videos unless they burn down the woods. I watched this one 10 times because it was finally, it was like everything coming together in a good way. It was some gun nut blowing up, and then it backfires on him literally, and he burns down the entire state. It was amazing. When I don't even know if there was a gender reveal, like to the point where when I was born, I don't think you were able to even find out the sex of your child. You was dumb luck. You were born, and that's when you realized. Like my gender reveal from my parent, my gender was revealed when I walked out my front door at like 6, and that's when the neighborhood was like, oh, it's a boy, I think, because I used to wear like women's pants. It's a story I've told before, but anyway, yeah. So the story is amazing. Look it up. It's fantastic. And if you were a gender reveal person, and I know when people get married and they're young and they're starting a family, they think it's real important to everybody, the gender of their child. It's not. So stop, because they're getting dangerous. Now it's getting dangerous.
It's all fun and games till someone sets Arizona on fire.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want that to happen. So be careful out there with your gender reveal. Actually, just stop it.
Isn't that the state you'd expect, like, firearm gender reveals? That, like, I'm from Nevada, we like guns.
It might have even been Nevada, actually. It might have. Actually, this guy, he worked for the the guys who protect the border. He was like Border Patrol. I think.
It was probably Arizona then. They roll heavy.
Yeah, he was like a Border Patrol guy, and the whole thing's just amazing. So just stop with the gender reveal parties and on to let's on to something else. Okay.
Is that like the baby shower for millennials?
I guess it is. I guess it's a baby shower, which is another thing. Nobody cares about baby.
No.
Like nobody. It's very, unless your party's going to be like I guess once again now I'm going to go back to being old and parties are just no fun anymore. Parties now just become like a bunch of people standing around a kitchen talking about I don't know, like shit that, and I always, as I drive away
Boring.
from, it's so boring. And I think I'm boring because I'm like, well, I didn't add anything to them. I have nothing to say. So I drive away from these parties going, man, like I'm not that interested in how many chicken patties you could fit on your new grill. I wish I had strong opinions on.
Bro, it's 12,000 BTUs.
Oh, man, I had this conversation with a guy at a party. This was a couple weeks ago. He was telling me if he turns the chicken patty sideways, he could fit 8. But if he turns them, and this went on, this went on for 20 minutes. We had this conversation, and I'm like, man, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should have like stronger opinions on the size of, you know, the grill and how it happened. But all I want to talk about really is like movies. If I'll talk about movies, I'll talk about music.
Does he have kids?
Yeah, which you got to do that a lot. You got to talk about the kids a lot. And there's nothing. I don't have kids, so maybe that's why. But there's nothing I care less about than when you start talking about your kids. I just completely zone. I don't care if you're telling me your kid is a trans kid that you gender revealed with a purple cloud when you shot a machine gun at a target. I can't get into it. I can't. Do I sound like a crabby?
No, as you were saying that, I was thinking about like, as we're starting to like CRISPR and stuff, what if we just start having genderless babies and then when you're like 13, you just get to pick and then.
Well, they're already doing that. Oh no, they're already doing that. No, it's already, now you can't, there's no there's no As a matter of fact, I had to, when I voted.
It's like a cat, you go to spay it and you're like, oh, I mean neuter or what.
When I voted this year, just a couple weeks ago here in Los Angeles, I voted at a high school, not even a high school, it's a junior high school in my neighborhood. And so I got to walk through the halls of the junior high school, which you very rarely do. And as an adult male, you should not be able to walk through the junior high school hallways. And all the bathrooms had, you could do either one. Guy or girl bathrooms, which is fine.
In a high school?
In a high school, yeah, which I thought was very
single use or
no, multiple.
That's interesting.
Yeah, multiple. At least I think they had a door on them, but I think they were multiple. But I thought it was, because we are in Los Angeles and it is, hey man, let people do what they want to do. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. I've never noticed anyone next to me at the bathroom. I don't know if I would notice if it was a guy or a girl. Like there's some hotels in New York where, like these the Standard and stuff in New York where it's that and it has been for years and I don't even notice who's next to me.
Yeah, I don't, you know what, it's, I don't know. I feel like bathrooms should just be one big room with a bunch of stalls, maybe a couple of urinals if you're progressive and you're down to see, but I mean, yeah, why? Yeah, I'm down for it.
Did you ever see a girl pee in a urinal? I saw that.
You've done the road a lot.
Oh, you better. This is in Atlanta. Let me go back. I'll give you Atlanta. We were in Atlanta. Great, fun city. And a buddy of mine named Corey. Let me give Corey a shout out. Corey Chaliff took me to the party area of Atlanta, with like the college party town. We're getting to Buckhead, I think it's called. And we went out to like these bars that are just packed with like college kids. And of course, the bathrooms are just awful and just like shit all over the floors, and not actual shit, but just like some actual shit, but just shit everywhere.
Some piss, some beer,
everything, you name it, broken bottles, da 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 da. And a girl was pants down, backwards. Okay, so she like sits in the urinal, and I have a picture of it. It's on my phone. Peeing in the urinal,
you can't admit that anymore.
No. I know. I didn't.
It's not sexual.
I'll say this: I didn't take the picture. Someone took the picture. I said, "Send me that picture."
So okay, that's okay.
Yeah. So I didn't take it. So I'm off the hook on that one. But it was one of those. It was one of those like shot. Which is, I still sometimes when I'm doing it, I'm like, why did I do this? Because sometimes, now let me just say this: I'm recognizable from time to time from a lot of TV that I've done. So people will come up and go, "Hey, Chris Franjola, love you on Chelsea Lately. Can I buy you a shot that's in a syringe?" Have you ever seen those in a bar?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's in a syringe, like a medical syringe, but it's a big cartoon type syringe.
And what city was this in?
This is once again in Buckhead, in Atlanta. Okay, and they put Jello shot in this syringe, and then you squeeze down on the syringe as if you're giving yourself into your mouth, and as a grown man, I will sit there and do syringe shots, and I did that in this bar and watched the girl pee in the urinal.
It's still good time.
I have all brothers, and it's still amazing to me the way I don't even know how girls pee. I don't. I've seen it like 3 times in my life, and it's just I guess you don't have to sit down which congratulations, because I look sometimes in bathrooms and I'm like, I can't believe a girl has to sit on that. But all girls know they don't have to sit on. Like, I don't know how girls work, but they don't have to sit, right? They could figure out a way.
I feel like they have a little bit more of a splash zone than we do, so you stand at your own risk. Like how messy do you want your clothes to get? I don't know. People are probably going to listen to this like, shut the fuck. Like, know, what? You don't even know.
Two cavemen talking. Well, anyway, once again, we're posing a question to you that you can write us on.
You're very sophisticated. You have your alcohol and syringes. Don't let anyone.
I do. Yes, you better believe it. Fancy syringes. They were nice. Then they it's like a shot girl. I always feel so bad for the shot girl at the bar, because that's got to be the worst gig in the world for her to walk around with like a bleaker tube or whatever of shots, and nobody who's buying that.
And they have to watch people get excited every time, even though the concept is so old.
I know. And unless the girl's like super hot, nobody's buying the $5 test tube shot. But anyway,
but if she is super hot, everyone's
buying, because then you think that's going to be, you buy a shot, next thing you know, you're dating.
Yeah.
Anyway, this has been fun. What are we at? 50?
We're at 50.
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
My God, the time flies when you start chatting with Alex about his weird views of the world. So hey, this is going to be cover to cover, barely making any sense, and we're going to be a little more focused as time moves on. But you know how this shit happens. You start like this, and then the next thing you know, in a couple of months, you have a real structured, fun way of talking. I hope I didn't get too heavy in the beginning. But sometimes, it's a crazy world we live in. But I promise, I don't care. I'm getting to the point where I don't care anymore. I'm going to walk out of the house every day going, I live in a good neighborhood, and I can't let this shit bother me. Maybe it's a bad way to be, but I think most people go through life that way, and they're doing fine.
I think if you didn't have people before Facebook was a thing, that's just how people were.
Right.
So
don't know.
Problems aren't a new thing. We just have access to them now. So
there you go.
Solve your own problems.
What a way to end it. A philosophical way to end it by Alex. We appreciate that. Go and see Alex whatever shithole venue he's performing at. Going up 8th, probably around sometime around midnight. Yeah, he's doing 5 minutes behind 9 of the worst comedians you've ever watched in your life. Then Alex will go up and he'll do his 5. And then everyone will go commiserate and shit on the comics who've been successful in the parking lot of whatever place they're performing at.
Remember.
Yeah, oh yeah. It was my favorite thing to do. And then when you start making a couple of bucks, you'll actually take what used to be doing the parking lot, then you'll take it to like a late night diner, and you'll do the same shit at a late night diner. And then hopefully someday.
Do you eventually get to Swanky Bar?
You get to Swanky Bar, and then once you get to Swanky Bar, then everyone will start getting wives and girlfriends, and then you won't even do it anymore. So cherish it now. Cherish it now. You'll do it just via text. Like, can you believe that fucking guy got a deal? Blah, 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 blah. So it's not as fun. So back parking lot behind shitty venue comedy.
Come hang out.
It's fun. It's fun to do. It really is. As a matter of fact, come hang out. I'm glad you mentioned that, Alex, because I'll be at a place called Bear Burger on Thursday, which is a club not a club. It's a hamburger place in Venice that I do, and it's really fun. And it's run by some good people. And this Thursday is their final one, because Bear Burger is a hamburger joint on Main Street in Venice that has to close because the rents are so high they can no longer afford to sell hamburgers there anymore. So we'll be doing the final one on Thursday at Bear Burger with Brody Stevens, Graham Elwood, Laurie Kilmartin, Chris Franjola, Ian Bagg, and a few others. It's going to be a good show. Anyway, this won't be on, so it'll be done by the time you hear this. Bye-bye.